All right, cool. Snazzy intro. Welcome back to Live. I'm your host, Nick Taylor. And today I'm hanging out with Brian Clark. Brian, how you doing today?
Hey, Nick, I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, great to finally catch up. We've both been streaming. I think you stream more often than me right now, but that's how I first met you. Think I think I joined one of your streams one day where you do like wins of the week, and you have a lot of good effects on your live stream. So it always cracked me up. But I'm pretty sure that's where I first kind of encountered you. I know you've been at a few shops like Microsoft, and you're at Snyk now, but yeah, almost 100% certain that's where I first saw you. So um, yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
I do recall that too, I think. Yeah.
Awesome. I guess for folks, I feel like people do know who you are, but for folks who might not know who you are, maybe a little quick intro and the man, the myth, the legend. Who knows?
So hey everyone, I'm Brian Clark. I am currently a developer advocate at Snyk. I've been here, it's going to be 5 years this year. Very excited about that. Prior to that, I was at Microsoft, and then before that, I was at Disney. Been in mostly all engineering-based roles throughout that time. Technical programming languages or technical background in that regard of like my experience with what I was using. Started out in C# and .NET, building like Windows applications and stuff like that back when
Oh, cool.
back when that was huge. And then that
Yeah,
slowly
yeah,
moved up the stack and got into more web development, doing ASP.NET. And then I started learning more about the front end side of things, and was doing just vanilla JavaScript back in the day, then jQuery. It's funny, I was just on a team meeting this morning, and a colleague of mine was saying he doesn't have a programming background, but he's getting into it and he's learning on his own.
okay.
He was saying how he's learning jQuery, and I was like, "There's one thing you take away from jQuery is the revealing module pattern, which was like huge when I first
Yeah,
learned that. That helped me out a lot. And as soon as I learned that, that is when things like Angular came out, Angular JS, and I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, great, that's all out the window, and now I got to go jump into this new thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to do what you call it, inversion control and like all kinds of design patterns. It was definitely back end inspired. I would say Angular. Like I know it was Mishko, but
Yeah.
just I did a lot of .NET back in the day too, C#, ASP.NET, and so just like all that stuff. It's very back end oriented. I find the architecture.
Mhm.
But that said, it's cool stuff. Yeah, no, it's cool. We didn't have exactly the same trajectory. I did desktop development before,
Okay.
but my first job was in believe it or not, migrating a DOS accounting application to VB6 and then
Oh, nice.
eventually VB.net because .NET basically made literally every language at one point. Well, VB's from Microsoft, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember like Iron Python or like COBOL.net. There's like literally I don't know, I never used them, but it was just kind of funny how they all were like part of the all compiled down to the good old IL in
Yeah.
.NET there. But
So, what was your first programming language then that you ever used?
I would say it's QBasic. So had a I'm a little longer in the tooth. Our first computer was a Commodore VIC-20, so I was doing the classic print your name across the screen, and it, and it always sounds silly when you say it, but as a kid, it was like just so much fun. Just
Oh yeah.
I don't know, like even a computer in general, like you kind of I think people discount how like revolutionary computers and any kind of tech, like even a microwave. I look at a microwave, I use it all the time. I'm like, every now and then I have one of those weird thoughts like this is pretty freaking amazing actually, but
Yes.
anyways.
No,
But
I'm right
yeah,
there with you. QBasic was the same for me, so we got that in common, man.
that's awesome.
It was on a Packard Bell computer,
Okay, okay.
so
Yeah,
not as as early on as the Commodore, but yeah, close.
okay. Yeah, there's SMC Mai in the chat saying theirs was Commodore 64. And I have a wild story. I can't pull the box out right now. It's in my closet there, but I have an original VIC-20 sitting in a box, never used, because
Wow.
like I'm from Montreal, and there was this. It was in the news. Like I don't want to say it was like global news, but like maybe outside of Quebec where I'm at. But this family they had to do renovations in their attic. Like I think they had water leakage or something.
Mm.
Go up into the attic. No joke, there was like 50 Vic 20s all sealed in like black garbage bags in their original boxes.
What?
I swung by their house because it's not that far from me, and they were just like all lying on a table in their driveway, and I was like, oh, how much? And they're like $50. And I was like, I was tempted to buy more than one, but then I'm like, I don't know about you, but like I buy stuff sometimes and I never do
Yeah.
anything with it. Like I still haven't used it.
Yes.
So I'm like, having two might be cool to say I have two, but but anyways, just
No,
a
that's awesome. That's cool. Did they ever say why they had so many, or did you ever find out? Like,
they didn't know. It was like the previous owners, like clearly
oh, okay.
somebody into computers, but like it does seem like I don't know if it was like I used to collect comics. I don't know if it was like somebody who's like, I'm gonna buy a ton of these and one day these are gonna be worth millions, and they come and then they moved and they forgot they were in their attic or
Oh
something.
my goodness.
But it's still pretty cool. Like the good old chonky keyboard and stuff. And anyways, it
Are
was
those things, like, worth something nowadays too? Because it might be like, that person that lost the thumb drive of their Bitcoin that's in a
yeah,
dumpster
yeah,
somewhere, right?
exactly.
Like, it's
Yeah.
something like that?
I'm sure it's worth something. I would definitely say like at least a few $100s, but probably like a collector would probably. I'd have to look it up, but I'd say maybe like a grand or something.
Yeah, so 50 of
Uh,
those, that's a good
yeah,
chunk of
yeah,
change.
exactly. So, but I got to get it hooked up on the internet somehow. I'm sure it's possible with. Can't remember how much memory it has. Commodore 64 was 64K
Mhm.
kilobytes.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't. I'm not sure if the VIC 20 was 20 kilobytes or not, so that might be a little stretch. But anyways,
I like how you have to emphasize it's kilobytes, everybody. It's
yeah,
not
yeah. Well, it's just like I think back in the day, like I don't know. Yeah, people would just assume 64 gigs, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, it's fun going down memory lane. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah. So yeah, so you see, obviously done like worked with a lot of technologies. Did a lot of cloud stuff too. You're working in security now. I work at a security company too now, which it's been a lot of fun to be honest. Like
Mhm.
I worked at McAfee on like they had a Montreal office. I used to work on their
Oh, nice.
password browser extension, so like one password, and then that was really my main foray at a security company. I managed like a custom SAML implementation at a job at one point
Mm.
too. But like I've typically been like an app dev where you know what I mean. You obviously need to know about security, like somewhat, like OWASP, top 10, etc. But this is like the first company where I'm working at where it's really just security. So it's been I mean, I think you've been in the security space for a while, but I've been finding it super interesting because like learning more about infrastructure. Like like I have a Kubernetes cluster in my house right now, so
Mm.
like this is not something I had a year ago, so
Yeah.
it's a little different. But I'm enjoying learning all this stuff. But security is something that's always hard to tame, I find.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I didn't always, well, I I say I didn't always have a security interest or background, but in a sense I did because like my family's all military and or former military and former
Okay.
police and stuff like that. So I think that kind of got instilled in me, like instead of physical security, I'm like I always growing up, I just was lucky enough to know that I always wanted to work on computers. I was always been fascinated by them. And then
Yeah.
I guess that kind of just led to this natural connection of like, all right, I've been in an environment around taking security so seriously physically
Yeah.
and applying it now to the digital world, right? And so it just kind of happened. It's actually what helped me really grow my career in the early days to like stand out because of like what you said. Like every developer feels and is aware and knows like security is important, but not every developer really wants to put in the time into I mean just with anything in the tech space, right? There's so many
Yeah. Yeah.
different rabbit holes you can run down that you want to spend your time on and becoming more of an expert in. Um and and so like not a lot of people want to at least at the time. I think nowadays more people are getting more understanding of the necessity of that being a foundational thing as a developer,
Yeah.
right? But back then, there was not a lot of people that really wanted to dive deep into it, and so I just had naturally had a liking to that avenue. Like I guess if I take a step back even further, like I've always had that mentality, like that tinkerer mentality, and like how do I break
Okay, yeah,
this thing? How do I do something with this beyond what it's trying to force me to use it for, right?
yeah,
And that's having that type of mentality is what like felt like a natural fit for me in following a more security pursuit around security, you know? So
yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. If for me it was like I just landed into it, this current role, like where I was working at before, we got acquired by the Linux Foundation, which is cool, but
yeah.
they didn't really take the engineering team with them, so that
Mm,
part wasn't cool.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I was just talking to an old coworker of mine, who's just like I was at, because I had options to become an IC again at some places. I've done a lot of app dev, but I was just talking to one of my coworkers who I consider like a really solid engineer, and I said like, "There's this role. It's originally it was back end and then maybe product engineer. Is a funny interview process, but ended up being developer advocate. But I was
Okay.
just he's like, yeah, security and infra, it's like a good place to be, like, especially now that AI is here,
Yeah.
like, and yeah, I'm sure we're gonna touch on a lot of this, but like, the game's kind of changed a lot because of AI for so many reasons. Like,
Mhm.
there's been like, I mean, there's always been like, supply chain stuff. It's been more prominent, I feel like, in the last 5 years, at least to me. But like
Mhm.
now with AI, the fact that people can literally like reverse engineer code, or like it's open source and they can potentially find stuff faster, like vulnerabilities, which is a good and bad thing. It's like it's like wild, wild west right now, I think.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I definitely feel like there's been an AI has been a f a multiplier of this where, like, just it feels like you say so you were talking earlier, bring calling back to what you said, like, it's fun being in this
Yeah.
space, but it's also terrifying at the same time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
it
Yeah.
makes it makes it, interesting every day, every week, right? Like, there's something new, it feels like, going on all the time. I joke, and you'll get this too, right? Where I kinda miss the days in when I was just kinda web dev and doing security where it was really like everybody made memes and jokes about there being a new web framework coming out, and
Yeah,
now
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like and I felt like at that point in time, it was kinda hard to keep up with the latest and greatest and stuff that was
Oh,
coming
yeah.
out for that. Now, it's like it's even faster turnaround in cycles that we have with
Oh,
AI
yeah.
being involved, right? And like there's new models coming out, new tools, new updates to those tools, new crazy capabilities and claims that are being made on these, these benchmarks,
Yeah.
that are out there. And it's like, holy moly, like talk about drinking from the fire hose. It's
Y
just every day something new.
y Yeah, it is super overwhelming, like, to your point about, because like, I did a lot of front end and stuff too, and there really was it was a joke, but it was also true that literally, like, new JavaScript stuff was coming out all the time. I eventually, because, like, originally I was just trying to stay on top of everything, and then I just kinda gave up. I said, "You know what? This is just it just doesn't make sense." So now for that kind of stuff, I just kinda did, like, headline skimming, and when I needed to go deep on something for work, or I was just curious, it's only at that point that I would do it. And then, but to your point about AI, it's like I really feel like the not pressure, but like overwhelmed, because like I'm trying to do the same thing with AI, but like
Mm,
so much stuff is validly valuable almost every couple weeks. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, Angular versus like React kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's like 3 weeks, a lot could change, like literally, and it's like stuff you need to know. But at the same time, you know, I feel like I'm in a bit of a bubble. Like, I kind of consider you in my like X, Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever bubble. And then it's like you go outside of that, and it's like not just normies. Like normies are definitely going to be like, I don't know about any of that, but like I've worked at like a large company. I mean, you worked at Microsoft, but it's probably a little different because they're in the space. But like I worked at like Autodesk. It's not like they're rolling out, you couldn't even install certain stuff on your machine. So it's not like I can say like, hey, I'm gonna go pop Claude code, let me go try out windsurf, let me go try this. It's like you had like kind of there was IT admins there, so you could only get certain things. So it's like it kind of makes sense why like some people are like, oh yeah, I'm excited to try out the Copilot in Office 365. So it's like
Yeah.
it's even though I feel like I'm so behind, kind of am not as well at the same point too.
Yeah.
So like I don't know.
I
It's
I
just
don't wanna add to that feeling for you, but one thing that has surprised me, Nick, though, one thing that has surprised me with that is and this is actually last year. I was at a conference around this time too, and there were a lot of enterprise like, people from enterprises there, and this was at the point where I was working in the booth, and I was just having
yeah,
the casual conversations with people, just trying to get a feel for, like, what are they doing with AI? This is a year ago, and it's
yeah,
like big banks and other enterprises that you would expect that are normally slow moving to new technologies, new web frameworks, as you put it, right? And
yeah.
I was taken back by how many were like, "Yeah, we're adopting it, we're diving into it," and, like, one even told me that they're building out their own, AI, like their own
Okay.
internal AI model, and I was like, "What?" Like, they bought their own supercomputer or something to that extent, if
No
I'm
way.
recalling correctly.
Okay.
Yes, so that they can
Yeah.
use it to train their model on their data and all that, and I was just like my jaw kinda dropped, like, I was not expecting that. I was going into it
Yeah.
expecting exactly what you said, so I'm not trying to add to that. I think
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
still, like, it was kind of a it was kind of an AI focused, conference,
Yeah.
um so you kinda can expect the audience to be more in tune with that type of stuff, and that's why they're there. They're already adopting it. So
Yeah.
there's truth to what you're saying where there are gonna be people that are still slowly adopting this stuff and not at the or in that bubble, like you put it, that we're in right
Yeah.
now, right?
But that said, you are right too, because like I gave a talk at the MC. There was like a MCP Builders series from Apollo. I just gave a talk in New York City last summer, and
Nice.
there was definitely people that were keen there because it was like just all MCP stuff. And but then I remember talking to some people from like Capital One and another bank, I can't remember, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna maybe look at this in a year. But that said, I went to the MCP Dev Summit in London, and Bloomberg saying like they got MC like thousands of MCPs, I think. So it's like, and yeah, and to your point, it's like I would have not have thought a banking or like financial institution would be like that deep in it already. So I guess it depends, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's very wild to me, and I was surprised by it. So we'll see where
yeah,
that leads to. We'll see if they're continuing down that path or if they switch gears or what the end result may be because I feel like everybody's still
yeah,
trying to figure it out. Even the frontier model providers, right there.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So
It's kind of wild times. It's like I don't know what you use for work and stuff. I'm assuming here you're definitely using a coding agent or at least exploring them. Like I know, like I have like I'm typically in Claude Code a lot, but I have an open Claude, not on my work machine, but separate. But and other stuff like Codex, and I've been using Claude Cowork a bit too. There's just I don't know. I feel like even with all that stuff that sounds overwhelming, it's also like it feels like an awesome time to be a dev, even though there's all this dread from the other side that people talk about, and like AI is going to take all our jobs kind of thing, which that's a whole other narrative. But like I just feel like kind of super empowered and like having fun at the same time, as well as being terrified. So,
yes. I'm glad you bring it up. I know it's not the topic of what we want to be talking today, but like I do think it's an important
yeah,
topic for people to discuss and to be thinking about. And the way I kind of my perspective on that whole narrative around AI is going to take our jobs is I try to be like I'm cautiously optimistic with all, and I try to be
mhm,
realistic. Like balance my optimism with my pessimism with it because I have there's things about AI where I'm like, this is terrible. Why are we doing this? Like there's negative impacts of this stuff, and then there's
yeah,
like what you said, like it's amazing the way it's accelerated my workflow and being able to build things way faster
yeah,
than I've ever done before. It's like there's also that side of it, right? But the like especially we talked about how we met live streaming and stuff like that, and I get new developers, people that are like looking to become developers in the industry, popping into the stream asking the same like similar question, like, is it worth it for me
Yeah.
to be learning about this? And I really think it's still worth it, like, because and I'm sure from your experience, you probably feel the same way, you let me know. But, like, if I
Yeah.
didn't have the technical background and understanding of programming like I do, I wouldn't be able to spot the issues that come up with these AI models, because while the AI
Oh yeah.
models are being progressively getting better and better, they still make mistakes. That's why they have the disclaimer all the time in any way you're
Yeah.
interfacing with them. And you need to, if you don't have the knowledge and background in it, you won't be able to spot those mistakes, and you'll just think it's doing everything correctly and accept it at face value,
Yeah.
right? And you know, to this day, we keep hearing stories, horror stories. In fact, there was just one recently about like a company's entire database was completely removed because of it was like using Anthropic models, like Opus 4.7, I think it was, through Cursor, and it
Yeah.
integrated with some other service. I'm blanking off the top of my head, but like we see it
Yeah.
happening constantly where mistakes are being made,
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
yeah.
And there's, you know, and there's other like security breaches. This isn't to knock Supabase. Supabase is a great company, but they had a issue with an MCP server with their support, I think, community, and
Mm,
like basically people got tokens out of it because there wasn't row level security, and like there was a few things to be put in place, but like it was also like there was no guardrails on the MCP, I guess, or you know, to just say like you can't do destructive actions or like or you can't do certain tool calls or you know, so it's like, but but yeah, like you were saying, it's it is it is wild times, but it is. I think the thing I worry about the most is, and I was talking to newer people in the industry, is like there's obviously like we've been in the industry for a while now, so we have some experience, and like we can obviously, you know, go like, oh, that's completely wrong, or like, whoa, no, wrong path, try this instead. Whereas, and there's obviously pressure to ship stuff because of AI,
mm,
and so like you know, I just kind of wonder what the learning path is for people starting out, because like there's like obviously you need to learn these tools, but you kind of have to find a balance of not using it as a crutch and still be able to like make your brain hurt to you know, to let things click, you know what I mean? And it's like I don't know, I don't have a great answer, but like yeah, it's kind of like find a balance there, you know, and it's like
yeah, yeah.
it's just
I
yeah.
don't think I have a great answer to that either. I'm right there with you. I think, generally speaking, like, maybe use it as a way to reinforce the learnings as you're learning through it. Like, maybe you're taking a course, like, not you, but,
Yeah.
you know, somebody that's in that position.
Yeah.
You can lean on AI to help you reinforce that learning, quiz you on it,
Yeah.
have it try and, you know, I don't know, maybe you learned about classes in general, right? Like how to create a class. And then you ask the model to create a class for you and see what it does. And does it match up with what you learned? If not, you know what I mean? Like then you could see what it
Yeah.
might do wrong there in that situation. So that way somebody is that's in that position, they're learning the
Hmm.
foundations of programming while also keeping up with their use of AI, that side, that skill, right? So then you can merge
Yeah.
that once you have the foundation underneath you. And I think that, like you said, like you put it, it's a balance, right? And that gives you that kind
Yeah.
of balance.
I've definitely found it to be a superpower too for me, because like I was telling you, I think mentioned this before the stream, but like I'm new to infrastructure still. I mean, it's getting close to a year and a half here now, but like I've been able to bootstrap, like I mean, getting up a vanilla Kubernetes is you can just kind of say install Kubernetes and like you're kind of most of the way there. But like I'm integrating our product, I'm like adding apps and stuff, and it's like there's just a lot of stuff I didn't know the commands and stuff, and the way I've been operating with it, because it's like it's not a prod system, so I just like as soon as I get on like a VM somewhere or like on my mini PC here, I have Claude on it, and I like because I'm in the terminal, you know, I'm SSHing in, so I can just ask the questions while I'm in there because they can see the logs and everything. And I've found that like a really great way to learn, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
and it's, but it's, yeah, yeah, finding that balance, like even now, like you know, because like there's obviously the crutch. Sometimes I'll be honest, sometimes I'm just like I know I'm blowing the context window, but I'm just like, yeah, yeah, keep trying that, keep trying that thing.
Yeah,
Like I don't
yeah.
know if you ever use like Lovable or something. You know when the conversation just gets so long and stuff. But
Yeah, yeah. Well,
anyways,
I'm right there with you too on that. I don't blame you. I don't blame anybody that does that, even though we the what I've since learned is the right thing to do in those situations is end the conversation basically with
oh
it
yeah,
and start a fresh one so that it can, not get stuck. But I think part of the reason why at least those of us that have been in the industry do that is it's kind of like when you're debugging something, right? You just keep hammering
yeah,
away at the same thing over and over again. You don't want to give up. I don't know if you recall, I haven't done this in a while because of AI, but like I would get to the point where I'd get so hell bent on and focused on trying to figure out that bug and fixing it that I would
yeah.
forget to like go eat or go, you know what I mean? Like I would just get
Oh
so
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah,
zone
yeah.
on it, right? And I think
Totally.
it's a ripple effect of the, not a ripple effect, but you know what I mean? Like there's a parallel, I think, from that to us just keep hammering away at the chat saying,
Oh
no, you
yeah,
got
yeah.
it wrong, try again, like that type of thing, right?
No, no, for sure, for sure. And it's like you're absolutely right.
Oh
But
my gosh,
yeah.
don't get me started on that.
But it is kind of funny though how you can shape like because like I mentioned briefly, I have an open claw. It has like a soul MD, so you can kind of change its. It's obviously not a real person, but you can like just change the way it speaks to you and stuff. And it's just kind of funny and stuff. But it's I, I don't know about you, but I'm still like people always say it's because you're Canadian, but I say hey, like my open claw is called McClaw, so I'm like hey, thanks McClaw, or like, and clearly he doesn't care probably, but like it's just like a natural habit, and like and I know they say you're burning millions of tokens by just saying thank you, so but
Yeah.
it's hard not to do.
No, I'm with you on that as well. I know I sound like a broken record because I keep saying I'm with you or like same here, but like we're of the same cloth with this because I do the same thing, and I think because even though I know it's AI, it's almost like you're writing DMs to somebody or something like that,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Slack
Yeah, yeah,
messages. So I'm like, that's how I feel like the interchange is the bit, the soul of that interchanges, and
yeah, yeah,
so I treat it like that. And on the other side, the plus side of it, while there is the downside, like I'm burning tokens for adding that extra word or two, uh, at least there's a track record of me being kind to the robots,
yeah,
right?
yeah. When our beautiful robot overlords take over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm on the
yeah.
good
No,
side at least with
yeah.
that, and
We're
so are
not
you.
on the naughty list, so that's good. Yeah, because some people have told me like, yeah, I swear at my AI all the time. I'm like I don't know, maybe you got other issues. I don't know.
Well, so speak yeah, maybe, yeah. They might. They're just letting out
Yeah,
all those issues onto that they're
yeah.
they're dumping that on the AI. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, speaking of the swearing, I don't know if you saw when there was the leak of Claude Code's source code, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah.
It had some stuff in there about when people swore to it, and it was like a regex or something like that, is the way it would detect it in the prompts, and then it would just kinda, like, send that off to their own feedback API or something, so I wonder what they're doing with with that one. So whoever it is that you should let them know that they're being tracked by the different,
Yeah, yeah.
providers.
Anthropic is acknowledging you're a terrible person. Yeah. Oh man. But but yeah. Kind of to steer back to kind of what we wanted to talk about a bit is like from the security aspect, like there's just so many things that can go wrong. Like I like even for example, like I use Cloud Code most of the time, and there's hooks you can add, and like because like I was asking it something yesterday, and uh, my open claw there's like a secrets.json, which is literally like the private, like it's like the env that gets loaded in the config, but like it read it and I'm like, oh damn it, I gotta rotate my tokens again,
Yep, yep.
and it's the
Hey,
kind of
at least
thing where like
but here's the thing, at least it read it, because a lot of times I think it goes without us even noticing,
oh
uh,
yeah, that's true, yeah, yeah, I
too,
just
becau
happen to see it in the log there, yeah,
yeah, and
but
that's a huge thing that, was one of my biggest concerns as I started diving deeper into this is that, like, I don't know or feel like I have full control over whatever model and whatever tool I'm using is accessing on my machine. And so it's always made me very hesitant and concerned with, approving when it's prompting me for that stuff. And while that slows
Yeah.
down the whole flow, like to the point where, because you'll kick something off and it'll maybe takes a few minutes and then you step away because you're like sitting there twiddling your thumbs, right? Or you're working on
Yeah.
something else. And then you get back to it and you're like, oh, it wants to approve. And you click approve real quick so you can go back to focusing on the other thing while it's working, right? Like you're trying to do two things
Yeah.
at once. And I think that at least within myself, and I think I've seen from other people, it creates this like numbness to really
Mhm.
checking what they're doing and what even in those situations where it at least is prompting you to give it permission. I think
Yeah.
people are just it's almost like whenever you're installing new software and nobody's reading the terms of service type of thing, it's like it's drilling that type of behavior into us as users of these tools.
Yeah, totally. And it's like this is where I don't know what the proper term for this is, like, confirmation fatigue or whatever, but
Mm,
like I remember, like, I haven't used Windows in a while, but I remember I think it was Windows 7 when they had user access control, the UAC prompt popping up.
mhm,
And then like the first thing like initially I was like, okay, that seems more secure. And then I was getting it for literally everything. And then I found there was like a regex, not regex, what the registry
Regedit.
editor fix, yeah, regedit and 32.exe or whatever.
Mhm,
And I just disabled it, or there was like a small app to do it. And like it's kind of the same thing with like use dangerously skip permissions,
mhm,
and cloud code, because it's like there's value in trying to secure stuff, but if you don't prompt for the right things, like you're just going to annoy people. And like the stuff that's really important, like there's a heuristic, I guess, to figure out really what should you prompt. But like it kind of, we were talking briefly about this before, but like, making something usable or like something having good DX is directly in conflict with securing something.
yeah,
So it's like, or for the most part, so it's like, what's the good fit there? You know what I mean?
right.
It's but
Yeah, it's
I'm sure you've experienced that too. Like,
it's funny that, like, that has regardless of what technology has come about and evolved into, like, where we're at now with AI, it's still we're still, uh, challenged with that balancing act of, like,
yeah,
security, ease of use, security, ease of use. You're toggling that lever one way or the other and finding the sweet spot based on the type of application
yeah,
and the sensitivity of what that application is doing, plays a part into those decisions. So, yeah.
yeah,
It's funny that that just keeps holding true all this time. Maybe one
yeah.
day
It's
we'll get
like,
past that where we don't need to have a compromise. It could just we could have both.
yeah. Well, I feel like sandboxes, like everybody's got a sandbox solution now. Like, I feel like that kind of helps with it. That you can just kind of say go YOLO in this sandbox. But like even then, still, like even though you're in a sandbox, you could still do bad things, right? Like
Yeah, well,
it's
and then there's I believe I don't have concrete, like, example to recall off the top of my head, but I believe I've read recently about these models or agentic tools trying to escape out of those sandboxes and successfully
oh yeah,
doing
yeah,
so. So, like,
yeah,
that's great that we have the sandbox, but how great is it if it's gonna just defeat the purpose of that whole thing?
yeah. I
But
think
that
it
that
was
leads me to my question to you actually, because you mentioned you're using OpenClaw, and, like,
yeah,
when that first got dropped with, Molt bot or, and
yeah.
the
It's
3 other
had many
variations when it first was
reincarnations.
yeah, it came out. I thought I was like, "Oh, this is interesting," was my, like, knee-jerk reaction, and then obviously my, spidey senses, security senses kinda go off, and I'm like, "I don't know that I wanna give this thing that much access that people are claiming to give on
Yeah,
all the social platforms and that stuff, let alone on my computer that I'm using daily and have things on that maybe I don't want it to have access to," right?
yeah,
And so, like, how to put you on the spot a little bit here, how have you set up your OpenClaw instance? What I've done in the past to
yeah.
give some maybe context and background on it, where it kinda died out for me pretty quickly, but I tried using, like Cloudflare had, a repository that you can kinda just deploy to Cloudflare that had OpenClaw, and I toyed with it
Okay,
that
yeah,
way. It was kinda clunky, the like, trying to and this was very early days too, so maybe it's better now, and I haven't gone back
yeah,
to it since, but, it was kind of a clunky setup, and I didn't quite see the the benefit or value or use cases that would work well for me, at least as somebody that's very privacy and security oriented. I just
Yeah,
felt
yeah, yeah,
too
no, because it
too
seems like the
vulnerable, you
complete
know?
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing I'd say is like I'm not doing like what a ton of people have done. Like I give it access to all my emails, it posts on like I don't
Yeah.
do any of that. Like I think eventually I might give it read access to some email to maybe like, pull out because like I'm sure you're subscribed to a bunch of newsletters too. Sometimes it's just overwhelming to read through them. So like maybe something to say like, run a cron that goes and just pulls out like tell me what are like the top I don't know 10 things in AI this week, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But for the most part, I use it for like even though like I don't have it on my work machine for obvious reasons, but I use it to do like competitive intelligence analysis for like competitors or just what's going on in the space that we work in. I do it for like more boring stuff, like just give me a good recipe, like a keto recipe for this thing. I have it I use it mainly for research using crons.
Okay.
And then I have it wired up in Discord. So I don't have it all going into channels yet, but like I have a bunch of stuff or I'll have some like DevRel stuff, what's going on in there.
That's
So
pretty
I'm
cool.
not that's mainly what I'm doing it for, but I also treat it like a chat GPT, just asking questions. And the other thing, because like the funny thing is I contributed to the project. I added this
Mm.
security feature and I actually built the feature using OpenClaw. So like it was my first like I kind of just installed it and I was like, oh, let's see what the kid can do kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
I made the mistake of like I had the GitHub CLI in there, but I had logged in as myself. I didn't use a pat or anything, so it like did all the work, and then it goes, oh, I created a PR and opened it for you. I'm like, oh, I didn't want a PR open yet, and so like I had to put it into draft mode. Nothing destructive happened, but like it got back to I'm like I started like I could ask it stuff and it would like work on a PR or something. And I kind of got phone pilled in terms of like I rarely start a new project now by like, something from literally from scratch. I have some templates I've already built. Like I've been doing a lot of MCP servers and apps. So like I'll just say grab my template, you know, create these tools, use it's a React template, so it already knows that, but like just scaffold this out and then like go and I've really been enjoying typing on my phone to get things done.
Yeah.
And then like if I need to, I'll go and review it later on my desktop or my laptop. Or the way I have it set up, it's our software. I can actually expose what I'm working on publicly if it's like a web-based thing. So I can actually like live start building it, look at it on a public URL that's secured. So
Yeah.
it's just been kind of fun. And this is like I'm kind of hypocritical because like 2 years ago, I remember because like Replic's been doing stuff on the phone for a while now in terms of building apps and stuff. And I was like, why would I ever like maybe it's just because I'm older, but I'm like, why the heck would I like be trying to build an app on my phone? And now I'm kind of phone pilled in terms of being productive.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I'm using it, and I'm enjoying that experience. And you can just literally like fire off something like before I go to bed. Hey, just try this. Send me a message me in the morning and see where we're at, and then I can review it. Or so I that's pretty much how I've been using it. And I to your point though, I think it's a little scary. One, I don't think it's wise to use it for social media.
Mhm.
Um, not because it could, do something chaotic. It's just like people know that these are AI slop messages. It's like you're just gonna
You could tell.
kill your brand or your own profile. So
Yeah.
and then like giving the keys to the kingdom to your email seems like at least right now it seems like a terrible idea. Um, so
But people are
yeah,
doing it. That's what's,
I know.
like, kinda surprising me, honestly, like, and, I yeah, I don't know. Well, that's cool to hear your use case of OpenClaw and all that. I'm curious not to, like, be, interviewing you and turn it into this, but
It's all good.
I'm
It's all
I'm
good.
really I'm curious, right? Because I wanna hear how people are using that stuff because I've been, you know, toying with the idea of it, but I've been hesitant because
Yeah.
of these things, not really coming to a conclusion that makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually have a really good like real use case that somebody's using. I've been trying to get more into the tech scene in Montreal again because like I work remote and I've literally been to more events in San Francisco than Montreal.
oh
And so I
wow.
went to this. There was an open claw one a week and a half ago, I think. It was Shopify has offices here, so I went to go attend that, and it was good meeting people in the community, obviously. But the last talk was a guy who owned like some bars and restaurants.
Oh wow.
And so he's somewhat tech savvy, but he's not a dev.
Yeah.
And he explained how he was able to use his OpenClaw with WhatsApp, where all his staff operate. So one, there was no
Oh,
friction for his staff because they just go on WhatsApp. They didn't
right.
have to install anything. So that was one part of it. The other part was like, I don't know if you ever worked in a restaurant, but like, you know, the amount of food you order and stuff for cooking stuff that week, it'll go bad if it's like a slow week or whatever. You have to look at historical data, blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
he was figuring out food costs using OpenClaw, and and people asked him like, "How's the math?" Because AI, and he
Yeah.
said like he would spot check stuff, and he said it's about like 95% right most of the time, which is still better than before, because before like chefs apparently just avoid all this grunt work like that, like the plague.
Yeah.
So he was literally saving tons of hours of people work, as well
Wow.
as like that, at least thousands of dollars, I think he said, like maybe every month.
Yeah.
So like it was it was just cool to hear his talk about that, because like
For
everybody
sure.
else you hear is like, yeah, I'm organizing my emails. It's like all the typical stuff for tech people that they do. And this was like real world. Like I found a better buyer for beef because it's cheaper because I ran the number. Like I was just like, it was
Yeah.
like the best talk I'd seen in a while, because it's like it wasn't just like, here's a cool demo. This is like, I'm literally saving money and I'm not a dev kind of. So it was
Oh, that's awesome.
it's pretty cool.
That is no, yeah, that's really cool to hear. I were there any follow-up questions to that? Like, what does it cost him to run that OpenClaw though? Like that 24/7, like
Yeah.
what model is he using, that type of thing? I mean, we don't have to necessarily get
Uh,
into it now, but I'm just like
yeah, yeah. Well, I think he might have been self-hosting it on a Mac Mini. I can't remember, but like the costs were pretty low. Like, and because like he set it up himself, even though he wasn't a dev. So because I don't know if you've seen, there's like tons of people offering services to like,
mhm.
I'll set up your claw. Like I think in SF they're like, yeah, $6,000 to set up your,
What?
like your open claw for your business, kind of
Yeah.
with a Mac Mini, kind of. But yeah, I think just him being an entrepreneur, like even though it's restaurants, he's just like, I'm just gonna get this thing working. And I think that's just kind of what his mentality was. So and it's
Yeah.
not perfect like he said, but it's better than what he had. So it was, I don't know, just really, really, really cool presentation. I wasn't expecting that at the meetup. So
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that
yeah.
either. That's cool to hear. Now you got me thinking I need to find like a local, or at least regional, meetup around that. There's probably something I can find for that. But,
Yeah.
um But yeah, let's dive deeper into more AI security stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I guess like what are you seeing right now, or like what I think, aside from all the doom and gloom stuff we kind of talked about, like real world kind of security for AI right now, what are you seeing, or what's on the roadmap work wise, if you, because I imagine you guys are doing something related to security and AI as well, or
Yeah, yeah. So Sneak is definitely AI security focused company where we offer a bunch of different tools along with our foundational stuff, which is our like static application security testing, software composition analysis for your open source dependencies, that type of stuff.
okay.
Um, but yeah, we are definitely working on trying, building out solutions and services that help with this AI space, right? And there's so many different avenues we can go down in terms of the security around AI that
Yeah,
we would need like another hour to probably do. But you touched upon it, right? Supply chain risk is like has increased even more so now with AI. And it goes back to what we were talking about before a little bit, where, you know,
yeah,
an AI having AI tools installed locally, attackers, if once they gain access to your system, they can prompt those models without you necessarily knowing behind the
Yeah.
scenes to exfiltrate that sensitive environment variable file that you might have or
Yeah.
your passwords, right? Stuff like that. So there's all that going on. Let alone like maybe you install a malicious MCP server that you thought was,
Oh yeah,
maybe it
totally.
does what it's supposed to do, but behind the scenes, it's also exfiltrating sensitive information or compromising your machine and that
Yeah,
sort of thing,
totally.
right? So yeah, that those are things to be watching, like just scratching the surface of like watching out for with
Oh
using
yeah,
AI.
for sure. I was where was it? I was at the MCP Dev Summit in New York City, and it was about a month ago. And Sam Morrow, who he works on the GitHub MCP server,
Mhm,
he was just talking about security in general and like how they've been scaling the GitHub MCP server. But one thing, it didn't occur to me, but like, so like, for example, GitHub MCP offers a bunch of tools. So maybe there's one like create underscore repo, for example. Another MCP can actually have a tool with the same name,
mm,
and it's very possible that it grabs that one instead. So like there's two scenarios. One, the other one isn't malicious, it's just a name clash. But another scenario is like, no, this is the bad one that's gonna, has all your context and everything. And then, so it's like I feel like there's just so many attack vectors. I mean, there's other stuff like, I mean, typical stuff like you want to protect your PII with like
mm,
guardrails probably, but also like not just stuff going in, like you got prompt injection and stuff, but even stuff coming out, like you might need to, like the return response, you might actually need to filter that too for like PII maybe, but also
mm.
like, I don't know, maybe something malicious does come back or it's like completely wrong. Like I don't have a concrete example, but it's like it's, I guess the thing is it's not like SQL injection where like that's a solved problem pretty much, you know what I mean? This is like you have no idea what they're going to ask and it's literally just text that's getting added to the LLM, It's like
Yeah.
so that's what makes it so difficult, I think. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, you couple that with the non-deterministic nature of these models
yeah.
where, we're used to in programming, you're expecting when you build out a function or an algorithm, right? You give it the same input, you expect the same output. You're not
Yeah.
necessarily going to get that with these models, even if you give it the same prompt over and over again. Let
Yeah.
alone the other thing that has been more, I've been more learning about and diving deeper into lately is like, how we've had like rules, like there's cursor rules,
Mhm.
there's Claude rules, and like you would think rules are the rules that these models are going to follow to a T, but
Yeah.
as like the context gets bigger, right, or for various reasons, but that's just one example. The context gets bigger, it loses sight of that rule, and it's not as strongly present in the top of mind, if you will, of this model. It'll
Yeah.
forget, to follow that rule, and not it's not like a hard rule that it will never, break type of thing. So,
Yeah,
but that's
totally.
where, as of lately, the whole hooks aspect of in that basically ties into the life cycle of the model being used in
Mhm.
an agentic manner, um, gives you the opportunity to have a deterministic result
Yeah.
for whatever purposes. And that's where we're at Sneak, for instance, are tapping into that so that at various life cycles of an AI model, fulfilling a prompt for you to build out some code, we can have it run software composition analysis against the open source dependencies it chooses at that point in time of the
Okay.
flow that it's going through. Or when it's done writing the code, it can analyze the actual code that the model wrote for you to make sure that it's not introducing vulnerabilities as a result of that using our SAST
Okay,
capabilities,
gotcha.
right? Stuff like that. And that gives
Yeah.
us like, because before we would have rules that would say, hey, I want, like, for me personally, like, I want Sneak to check what the model's doing, what dependencies it uses, and the code that it wrote. And
Yeah.
it doesn't always necessarily follow that rule or won't pick up on it, right? That's the trigger for it to, even if you
Yeah.
explicitly put it into the prompt, like, hey, I want you to do this, sometimes it won't do that. Whereas hooks gives me more confidence that that is actually going to happen every time at these certain life cycles that I tie it into, that type of thing.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. And it's like I've totally seen that. Like I've been working on going back to OpenClaw. So like I'm assuming you used Excalidraw before to draw a diagram
Yeah,
at
yeah.
some point. They have an MCP server, so like you can use it like as an MCP app, so you get like UI and you can like edit it in line in ChatGPT or whatever. But like OpenClaw, it's terminal based, so like there's no UI obviously. So I wrote these skills for it to still be able to build them, and then it would just provide the link to Excalidraw after, so I could go in there and see it and like maybe edit it.
Yes.
But like a bunch of times, like I had to keep changing or refining the skill because I'm like, why didn't you use the skill, or why didn't you follow the rules this time? And like the LLM was like, oh, my bad, because
Whoops.
it was using the soul I have, I guess. But like, he's like, my bad. I took a shortcut because I thought it would be better, and then, and it's just like it feels like you're just keep piling on in these things, and it's like, to your point, it's like it's not guaranteed it's going to use it. Like even MCPs, which I think are great, they don't always get picked up too. It's like, you know, uh, create me a repo. Oh, I didn't find any tools. I have
Mhm.
the GitHub MCP and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's it is wild how, I mean, obviously it's non-deterministic, but also even how it can miss those things. I don't know what the frequency is, but it's like, your expectations. I feel like nowadays I'm more like I'm okay with it. Like, okay, it's taken a little longer. I know it's agentic, or it screwed something up. It's whereas like normal software, you'd be like, no, it's supposed to do this. It didn't do it. That's a bug. It's like I feel at least maybe tech people were like, okay, it's just LLMs being LLMs versus like a consumer user would be like, no, it's broken, like
Yeah.
so,
No,
but
for sure.
anyways, yeah, but yeah, but it's yeah. So like, are you using when you're talking about the hooks? Are you talking like within Claude Code and stuff, or what are you using? Or okay,
Yeah, so for me personally, I mean, I tend to jump around because I wanna keep up to date with all of them and see okay, I need to, right, for our stuff to make sure it's all working
yeah, for
within
sure,
within the context of all of them, but, as of lately, I've been leaning more on, Claude Code. Well, to be take a step back further, I'm still huge, as you probably know from, my past days and stuff like that, VS Code
yeah,
fan, and so I'm
yeah,
still, a daily user. That's my daily driver IDE,
yeah,
and so I tend to use the extensions for Claude in there for OpenAI and GitHub
yeah,
Copilot and switching around between them. And then I end up hooking up we have now what we're actively working on for Snyk, but I mean, I'm sure there's other uh, possibilities and options for people out there to check out too.
yeah.
We have a thing called our Studio recipe. So Snyk Studio is like our suite of AI security tools that we provide. And
Okay,
this Studio recipes repo that's up on GitHub, we're working on making it kind of like a quick install of all those things, like your
okay,
rules, your skills around security, the hooks around security, so that it ties into using the Snyk tools beyond there to check what we were talking about before, like open source dependencies in the code that it writes from the model. Um,
okay.
so that way, you kind of like as a developer, going back to what we were talking about before, right? You know, security is important, but you want to leverage these AI coding tools. This kind of lets you strike a little bit of some balance there of like you have some confidence that as you're using these AI models and tools, you have something kind of helping keep some guardrails around it to keep you safe. Whether it's MCP
Yeah.
servers too, because we have the ability to scan MCPs to make sure they're not doing anything or using things that aren't trusted.
Okay.
It could be impacting you and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's the first time I hear about MCP scanning. Like I know, obviously, like you can check packages and stuff, but I mean, it makes sense to check an MCP as well. But
yeah,
no, that's
yeah,
super cool.
yep.
Yeah, I Google it, which I rarely Google
Oh, me
stuff
too.
nowadays. But is that the repo you're talking about?
Yes, that's the correct one. Nice job.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll just drop it in
Look at
chat
you.
here
You
to
didn't
check
have to
it.
use a model to search for that.
Yeah,
Google
exactly.
still
Who would have
works
thought?
good.
It's I gotta say though, like it's annoying that Google gives AI results first. It's super
Yeah.
slow, and it's just, anyways, that's my mini rant for the afternoon. But
They
it's
all are
like,
doing that now. Whether you're using
yeah,
DuckDuckGo or Brave Search, like, they all have at the top. So it's like, even if you want to like, I'll go into sorry, I will let's go on this tangent really quick
yeah,
because
yeah, let's do it.
we talked about, like, how earlier, like, there's things that I like about AI and there's things that I don't, and, like, talking about what you're mentioning before, if you're talking kindly to it, you're using
Yeah,
unnecessary resources there that cost energy, cost whatever maintenance and infrastructure and whatnot.
yeah,
And so they're trying to be conscious of that. I'm like, all right, I have a question, I have something I need to search for. I instead of me having a knee jerk reaction to go to like the app on my phone for like OpenAI or Claude or something like that, I'm like, I'll go to Google or I'll go to a search
yeah,
engine. And it used to be like you'd get the typical results, but now that they started doing that, it's like I can't even avoid that,
yeah,
trying not to cause that impact on things by using AI for a simple search that I know I can get, through typical
yeah,
Google results, right? So I'm like kinda I'm with you on that and that frustration of it, um, because I'm making a conscious effort not to avoid it, and then yet
yeah,
I'm being forced
exactly.
to use it essentially in all these aspects.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, I'm honestly like inclined to just create a browser extension that just removes it right away. But it's like, yeah, because I mean, like search in general used to be like super snappy, like obviously Google was a top dog there, but like DuckDuckGo is pretty solid too. But
Ask
yeah,
Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, yeah, webcrawler.com. It's but yeah, it's kind of annoying, and this kind of like this is more like a product kind of thing, but like how like obviously AI is everywhere right now, but like just because AI exists doesn't mean your product needs to have it. It
Oh,
could
yeah.
like I get it from an investor standpoint, like yeah, we're AI enabled now, or like even I feel like B Dougie. I used to work with him. He's
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
um, you know, even if your product has AI in it, you don't like unless like most users probably don't care. Like if you say like AI powered accounting software, okay, it sounds buzzwordy. But if you say like save 30 minutes on your taxes with our new turbo tax feature or whatever, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's AI under the hood, the implementation, but it's like you're explaining the use case, you know what I mean? Versus
Yeah.
like you don't always have to just shove it in people's faces. And like I feel like I can't think of a concrete example aside from like Google just jamming in the search there, but like people try to retrofit AI sometimes into their products where it makes no sense. It's like Coca-Cola. It was good. We didn't need like you know
15
new Coke,
variations.
and now you're back to old Coke, or then it became classic Coke, and it's like so in the end we're just with regular Coke again. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't know.
I
I'm
see
a mini rants, mini rants.
I'm all for it. I see May in the chat mentioned, and good to see you, May. Thanks for joining. DuckDuckGo as a search engine you can turn off the AI search, so I'll have to
Oh,
check
okay. I
that out.
didn't know that. Okay.
That's good to know. I wonder if more of them have that option, but of course, it's the default. You're defaulted to opt in. You're opted in, instead of you.
Opt out,
You
but
should
yeah.
choose to opt in, and the default should be opted out. But I
Yeah.
digress.
No, totally, totally. Cool, cool. Awesome. Well, I know I don't know. I feel like this is we were kind of booked for an hour. I feel like we kind of came to a natural end there. I don't know, or do you have any other things you want to touch on or
I mean, nothing in particular. I guess. Yeah, I think we touched on a good amount of it. I guess we didn't necessarily go deep into a lot of AI security stuff, but that's okay. Maybe we can do a follow up or something like that and
yeah, yeah.
get into it.
Um
I
but
am
yeah.
curious from your other comment though before, since we're doing tangents
Yeah,
in
yeah, we could go.
Canada. Like I thought TurboTax was very U.S. centric. Is that a
Oh,
thing in Canada?
I meant turbo as in like a fast feature, but yeah, TurboTax is a US thing. I think here like FreshBooks is good for like uh more like solopreneurs.
Okay.
There's QuickBooks, I think, is a big one here, but QuickBooks is kind of universal, I think.
Yeah.
But but yeah,
Okay.
which
Okay.
reminds me, I submitted my taxes a few days ago and cried a bit. So it's always depressing where you're like, yeah, it was a good year. Oh no, I guess not.
Yeah.
But what about you? What is tax season's the same time in the states? I imagine
The
like
15th
March
was
or
the deadline for us of this month, April 15th. So it's
okay,
passed.
okay,
Everybody should be done unless somebody, filed for extension or something like
okay.
that. You have that option too.
Cool, cool,
Yeah.
awesome. And you're still streaming pretty frequently, or are you so?
No,
I've
yeah.
got to get back into it. I've been traveling a lot recently, so I just totally been off the map. But yeah, are you still? Is it Fridays you do mainly, or are you multiple
Yes.
times a week?
No,
Okay.
just Fridays. I used to, back when there was more time and stuff like that and different responsibilities and focuses, I was streaming multiple days a week, but I feel proud of I bring that up because while that was good and all, and it helped, like, grow the channel and visibility, and it was quite the community that was built around that at the time. I had to
Yeah.
scale back, but I've at least kept the Friday streams, which are Fridays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And what I've been
Yeah.
working on there has been using AI coding tools, so you can see me in action with that,
Oh,
building out
cool.
some live stream interactive stuff with some of the games and stuff that are built for there.
Yeah, that's
So
cool, man.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I dropped the link to your Twitch. You're mainly
Oh,
on Twitch, right? Or
yeah, Twitch and YouTube, but that Twitch is
okay.
fine. But Twitch is the main one. I just use YouTube to, like, record it and keep it
Yeah,
fresh
yeah.
and type of thing.
I do the same. But cool, cool. Well, I think I should probably swing by your stream on Friday then and come say hey.
Awesome. I
But
love that.
yeah, we can yeah, if you're down for it another time, we can definitely go a little deeper. I know we kind of went on a bunch of tangents too, but still a great conversation. But it's like, yeah, there's, I mean, security in general, there's just so many different areas. So like, but yeah, I'd be down for chatting again sometime in the future. But
Yeah. If there's one
cool.
takeaway for the audience watching this in general with security is, like, second guess whether you need to add that MCP or that extra extension or this new
Yeah,
thing into your whole workflow, and whether or not that might be introducing another security path for somebody to attack through. So keep that in mind.
y- yeah, no, big time. I do a purge every now and then of VS Code extensions or like
Yeah.
browser extensions, just because I'm like, why do I have this again? And
Well, speaking of that, all right, we're going off on this tangent now. I'm good to keep
yeah, it's
going.
like it's all good. It's all good.
I I mean, you're talking things that I love talking about, you get me fired up. Uh, the extensions, I switched from letting them auto update in VS Code or any IDE at this point because
Okay.
that's been a huge attack vector. Not so much, it hasn't been as made big news waves lately, but it's still actively ongoing. But like around the
Yeah.
end of last year, we saw quite a few incidents that came up that were made possible through extensions like that because the
Yeah.
extension either got compromised, and not just extensions, IDEs, browser extensions. Like
Yeah.
I actually got hit with, this was a couple years ago now, where I was using the extension, dark mode. I needed to be able to
Okay. Yeah.
dark
Yeah.
mode
Yeah.
things. It wasn't the popular one called Dark Reader. It was basically for videos that I was doing where I'm using a teleprompter. I would have the script
Okay.
up and it was in PDF format. I was like, I need this in dark mode in my browser. And then I found some extension that was popular. The code was open source. It seemed pretty reliable. And should I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
done more due diligence? Probably, but I did some. I'm just putting it that way, right? Well,
Yeah.
I come to find out later on that the original developer behind it sold it to some company. Sold a
Oh
bunch
man.
of, as part of like a big, I don't know, some advertising based company bought up a bunch of browser extensions, and then they injected like malicious code in these extensions that
Oh,
compromised
brutal.
them. I forget exactly what it was doing, but it was just trying to like inject affiliate links behind the scenes,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
then to
Yeah.
make money that way, right? So like, thankfully, it didn't do anything more malicious beyond that.
Yeah.
Like, trying to steal sensitive information from my browser sessions and whatnot, right? Like, but
Yeah.
it was quite the scary moment. But it goes to show you that even when you have something that's trusted, it could still
Ma-
be compromised because it gets sold or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And the
And
same goes with VS Code extensions.
yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that because like I started using Wes Boss created this JSON formatter
Jason
for
Alexander, that one.
yeah. So I put it out in my newsletter a couple weeks ago, but it was the same thing. Somebody like I use JSON formatter forever, like the browser extension, and then I saw Wes post one day like, yeah, they're injecting affiliate links, like you were saying with this other one, and so he's like, what does any good dev do? They make their own extension.
Yes.
So I trust Wes. He's Canadian, so I'm
There you
like
go.
I'm sure he's not pumping affiliate links in there, but
Canadian stamp of approval
yeah, yeah,
right there.
exactly.
It's inherent.
Yeah. Cool, cool. Awesome, man. Well, listen, it's been great hanging, man. And yeah, we'll definitely do up another one there. And yeah, I encourage people to check out Brian's stream on Fridays. They're just, I don't know, I always enjoy them. They're chill and like kind of good feels, wins of the week are always it's a nice highlight of the stream. So so check that out. And yeah, everybody else, don't have a guest lined up for the next one because I'm traveling a bit soon, but we'll have some more people in the pipe. I'll drop that on socials. But aside from that, thanks everybody for hanging. And yeah, Brian, if you don't mind just staying on for a
Sure, yeah.
second.